Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Scholar Gladiatore. So, I promised you that I would do another video today, and I'm not a liar, so here it is. So, in the past, you'll remember that I did a video talking about descriptive accounts of, shall we say, Middle Eastern, Turkish, Islamic swordsmanship, where there was a particular exercise that used the drawing cut. And this particular exercise is very, very interesting. It's described in a British source, but from observation. And it says that basically these people practice by putting their knee against an object and then practicing the cuts at first at slow speed and then, building them. Obviously, I imagine you would build up the speed until you get more adept at it. Now, I have toyed with this in the past, but I've not trained it an awful lot, but it's an interesting exercise. So here I have a tree in my garden, so it's a safer object for the sword than a wall would be, for example. So the way that I see this working is you put your knee against the wall there, against the tree, okay? Now what this is to practice is the drawing cut without hitting the object that's in front of you. So it goes like this, okay? From all different angles, horizontal, both directions, downwards, I hit the tree there, both directions, quite difficult, and upwards, I hit the tree slightly from that direction. Okay, sorry tree, you'll be okay. So this is how I kind of envision this training working, and it's very, very interesting because it makes you use the big muscles of your back and your shoulder, particularly similar muscles to what you use in archery, actually, it has to be said. And of course it gets you using this drawing motion. Now you might think, why would you want to do that? Why is this drawing cut such a big thing? Why do people want you to do it? Well, I think there's several reasons. Number one, with this type of curved sword, I think it's for producing longer wounds. It might not produce deeper wounds, but it will produce longer wounds. And also you have to remember that when a lot of these weapons and techniques were devised, they were being used with a shield as well. And in some cases you're going to be shield to shield with the other person and actually using the sword in very, very close range around the shield. Might be over, might be under, might be around. So I think that's part of the context, and I also think there's a degree of perhaps something to do with the construction of these types of swords. Now what is interesting is when we look at Middle Eastern and Asian swords, they're often of a glued hilt construction, and it has to be said that they're not necessarily so robust for striking like you would with a stick or an axe, and they are more conducive to drawing blows. So there may be, and this is conjecture, but there may be an element of protecting the structure of the blade, the way that the blades were made, and also the way that the hilts were made. And this is alluded to in some 19th century British descriptions, where they talk about the fact that if you struck with a tulwar, they usually use as an example, they say if you struck with a tulwar how you would strike with a broadsword, with a European broadsword, then you would damage the blade. Now I don't think that's true, I think that's an over-exaggeration, definitely, but it is interesting nevertheless that they were aware of this being potentially a factor, so I don't think we should completely dismiss it. But I'd be very interested to hear your views. Why do you think that this particular style of drawing the blade across the target was so popular in really the Middle East, North Africa, the Middle East, and through Persia and up into Asia, particularly famous in Afghanistan and India as well? Why was the drawing cut so prevalent there? Do you think it's something to do with the type of clothing worn? Do you think it's something to do with the type of steel that the blades were being made of, or the hilt constructions, or some other consideration? Some people suggest it's something to do with the use of cavalry, which I've never really bought that theory, because cavalry can deliver many types of blows, including lance thrusts, and I don't think that necessarily, whilst the curved blade does free itself and doesn't get stuck on the target, you've got to remember that these swords weren't only used by horsemen, they were also used by people on foot as well. They weren't only cavalry swords. And in fact, the majority of any army in that area, whilst cavalry was very, very important in those Islamic, particularly in the Islamic world, the majority of their armies were probably, in most places and at most times, made up of infantry. So there we go, there's that little exercise. I might practice it some more and see if I can hit the tree less, and also see if I can do it a bit more quickly and convincingly, because hands up, I might be experienced with swordsmanship in general, but I'm not experienced at particularly these types of swords and this type of exercise. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you really soon for another video. I don't know if it'll be today, but it might be, so watch out. Cheers for watching, folks, and see you soon. Signing off.